Hello, everyone. This is Jack Baynes, and welcome to Jack Baynes' Religious Study, week beginning the 9th of November 2020. The topic of the week is utilitarianism. So, what is utilitarianism, you may be wondering? Utilitarianism is the worldview that whatever one does, it should always be the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Let's say I was a mayor and I had been given 250k to spend. I could spend it on a new mansion, I could fix local debt, or I could use that money to create new flat buildings for the sake of the environment and for people to live. I must choose what will be the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Humans have always had the notion of utilitarianism, especially the common good, as a Catholic teaching principle. But the first modern form of utilitarianism was suggested by Jeremy Bentham in Chapter 1 of An Introduction to the Principles of Morals and Legislation. Nature has placed mankind under the sovereign master's pain and pleasure. It is for them to point out what we ought to do. A man may pretend to abjure their empire, but he will remain subject to it all the while. The principle of utility recognizes this subjection. So here are some other scholarly views on utilitarianism. Bentham and another philosopher, John Stuart Mill, on one hand, they had created different forms of utilitarianism. On one hand, we have Mill, who created rule utilitarianism, arguing that the way one must do the greatest good for the greatest number is all based on rules and regulations. Bentham, however, disagreed with this, believing in act utilitarianism, that one should provide the greatest good for the greatest number through actions instead that teach us right and wrong. There are less relevant approaches as well. For example, Australian scholar Peter Singer proposed that to protect the best interests of those affected, we need welfare utilitarianism. Henry Sidgwick disagreed with act utilitarianism, arguing that instead it is the motive in which act utilitarianism works. Different perspectives of utilitarianism. So, a passionate person would say, yay! We can consider benefit for all humans and treat them the best we can. Otherwise, we'd have immoral people like Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler, who only use the greatest good, but not necessarily for the greatest number of people. The world has become fruitful because of utilitarianism. Racism in America and Britain has decreased, allowing us to be more respectful of BME cultures. Humans like Greta are caring for the environment more. Women are becoming more accepted in society. The list goes on. A religious person would say that Matthew 28, verse 19 reads, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." This means that Christians are utilitarians, since they wish for a Holy Spirit, a holy type of spirit in everyone. Wow. In fact, I don't think any other utilitarian does that, wish for the greatest good in the form of holiness in a spirit with other people. Breathtaking. Islam also has a utilitarian aspect, for it says in Quran chapter 4 verse 86, "Surely Allah takes account for all things." Islam, remember how it began as a religion in the 7th century Arabia. It was an opiate for people in Mecca because prostitution, polytheism, and other immoral means also were rife back then. There was so much immoral. There was also a lot of greed and beating up of people around that time. Islam was a utilitarian faith trying to base monotheism as the upholding as a way of an opiate for this sort of violence. If I were to simplify utilitarianism in a passionate religious way, we'd have to have a weekly limerick, which goes a bit like this. Throughout the world's history thunders, utilitarianism greatest good for greatest number. Or the world with the Holy Spirit, and Allah took account to hear it, that without it, the world would have gone under. Thanks for watching Jack Baynes Religious Study. Bye.